Oh, it's only passwords. Sorry, I thought everyone is already allowed in.
Yes, Diana, people are coming in. It's just, I think we're already spotlighted, but we have quite a bit of our community coming in.
Oh, I didn't see that they're coming in. So welcome everyone, far and near. I invite you as always to bring to us through your chat box the location where you're sitting now on Earth and where you are from originally, so we can see how we are woven and weaving together a circle around the world. So if you would put your location in the chat, we'll all be able to see, and I will be able to welcome you from wherever you are. So I'm sitting in Northern California, originally from Romania, born, and Israel, where I was raised. So I'm creating a triangle just with my, okay, San Diego, California, Alberta, Canadian Rocky, New Jersey. Wow, that goes fast. Florida and Oregon, Israel, UK, Germany, England, Peru, Haifa, the Holy Land, welcome. Israel, Moshav Ofer, welcome. Abenaki people, Vermont, Tel Aviv, Israel, and Iran, Spain, and Turkey. Oh, that's quite a journey. We are really embodying this weaving together of cultures, of points of view, of hearts. I think people are still coming, but oh yeah, Southern California. Tami, hello, welcome. So people will probably continue to join us, but Yael, I will invite you to take over when you are ready.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, everyone. I am sorry for my internet being very troubled today. So sometimes I will go off camera, and I'm sorry for that. But thank you so much for co-creating this with us, for coming to our wounds of peace, Rachem Salam, Rechem Shel Shalom, to this circle. We are doing these circles because it is said by indigenous elders here in Alaska and beyond that when women come together in true sisterhood, connect to the womb inside them, inside us, and around us, and then ceremonially, collectively put that energy outside of ourselves, then great healing can begin, and a sacred container for something truly new may be formed. And humanity can possibly have a future. Without that, it won't happen because Mother Nature has entrusted the future of humanity in women in the womb. And so, as we're trying to go beyond our own physical self future into a bigger future for the whole of humanity, we are calling women who feel that energy, who can carry that energy. And to do that, the way we do it is I invited these women that you now see on the screen who are wisdom keepers from different traditions and who hold that sacred feminine energy in a true sisterhood, which is also something the elders are telling us we should heal. And I think all of us have experienced the wounded sisterhood, the wounded feminine. So we need those who can hold the healed energy of the feminine, and they will form the core ripple, the core circle. That will be the first hour, and we will circle around the question, our prayers to be answered. There's a lot of different smaller maybe questions that are deriving from it, but that is the question we are asking everyone to look at. And so they will give their truths, their experiences, their the wisdom that they carry from their culture. And you will notice that there sometimes are contradictions, and they can coexist, just like in the womb, when we can feel nausea and hunger at the same time when we are pregnant, when we have more than one heart in our own body. And it is possible. But that is a truth that not everybody gets to experience from the womb holding that truth. But we were all part of that truth, because you too, whatever gender you are, wherever you're from, you were once the other self in your mother's womb. So that is the energy that we are asking to bring beyond the physical. And these wisdom keepers are helping us to do that. But more importantly, each and every one of you is helping us do that with deep listening. And it's a different kind of listening than what we are used to. It is as deep as the womb. And so the way we listen is guided by what we call talking circles, which is a name coined by our elder, Rita Blumenstein, our Yupik elder from here in Alaska, who is done visiting this world. But before she did, she found these guidelines to be shared guidelines, even though these circles have different names and different forms in different indigenous traditions, yet they share these guidelines. And when we follow those, a safe, brave container is then created, which we find when women lead that, it does create a sacred feminine space, like the womb. And so these are the guidelines. The first guideline is that at the beginning of every circle, the facilitator will read these guidelines, because just like when you're inviting people for a potluck, for a shared meal, it is the host you set the table, even if everybody knows where the forks are in your home. And the second guideline is that this is a talking circle, which means the circle does the talking. We are not about talking. It's not like a yoga circle, you do yoga, right? Singing circle, you do singing. Here, you are in a talking circle, but we are doing the listening. The circle does the talking through us. So when I speak, or when my other self speaks, I'm listening to the words. Even when they're coming out of my mouth, my active action is listening and letting that which wants to be said to be said. So there's no need to repeat something if someone else said it in a bit of a different way, because the circle has already spoken to that. We are asking to listen with the innocence of a child hearing something for the very first time. Think about the first time you heard of a dragon, or a dragonfly, or a platypus, or that kids grow up to be grown-ups, and the grown-ups were once kids. Allow that innocence, that wonder that was there before opinions. Let a story be offered alongside a story, truth by truth, like dishes in a potluck. We ask to listen and share with respect. This is a potluck of offerings. As you're listening, please be respectful, even if something does not nourish you, for it may be nourishing for others. My internet is shaky. I will check my video. We're asking to be respectful of other selves, of yourself, of other self in the circle and beyond. We're asking to be respectful of time and attention that are limited, since we are human. If you're not sure how to be respectful towards people or afraid to harm anyone, just avoid mentioning names or identifying details. I can just say, I went with a friend, and then you won't know if I'm talking about Helen or maybe a friend that you don't know. I can just say my piece, and Helen at her turn can then even talk about the same situation from a very different perspective. And she can also say, I was walking with a friend and this happened. because the deer and the lion, for instance, share the same experience of a chase from very different perspectives. And we wish to respect the different perspectives and come like in a potluck with our own plate and palate without pushing away one dish that might be nourishing for someone else. Or take some of a certain dish and not something from another, or make your own combination. It's all good. Just avoid judging and know that this is your truth and it is welcomed here. We ask to be free when sharing, when listening, free of judgment, arguing, or planning the replies. Please come without agendas, titles, or flags. Listen without trying to do any advertising or advising or try to do anything. Just be in deep listening. Lots may come and spark things in you. Allow yourself to go through the journey that the circle takes you on till the words in the moment are right for you to share. You will feel that, you will listen to that, and you will listen as the words are wanting to come through you. When we speak or when we share words, when you share words, please no cross-talking. Let the words come through you, not from you. Everyone will be given a chance to share theirs at least once. And you do not have to take that chance. You can, even if you do not speak in these circles, you will be heard. And even if no one speaks, it's also okay to listen to the silence together. There's a lot that will come up, even between words. We ask that when we share with words that are ripe, when the moment is ripe. And again, if something was said, just like I'm doing now, I shouldn't, you should not repeat that, because our attention and attention span is limited, and we want to respect that. The way we share is we only speak of what we know to be true through our own lived experiences, not something that we were taught or borrowed or maybe, or an assumption if you notice that you are taking an assumption on. Please do not speak on behalf of anyone but yourself, even if someone was with you in a situation, for two can share a situation and may experience very differently. Expand. We ask you to make room for different truths, just like the womb expands. So it might be uncomfortable, but if we allow that, then something truly new can begin to exist inside us and possibly beyond that. Now, when you share in with the breakout rooms, this part is recorded, but after our wisdom keepers will do the initial core, the initial circle, we will stop all recording and live streaming, and you will go into breakout rooms, where then each breakout room will have a wisdom keeper that will help or host actually a talking circle with you, our audience, our community, our participants. There in those rooms, there will be actually a traditional talking circles, because it will also be confidential. We're asking that whatever happens in that room stays in that room. We are asking that even if you share a room with someone and you want to continue a conversation, ask for permission, both from those you're speaking with and those you're speaking about, if that is so. And when asking, the answer might be no. Please respect that. And the last guideline is that if anyone has something to add or to adjust, please say it now. So we will give a few seconds. You can put it in the chat or unmute yourself, and then we will discuss until we reach consensus. Thank you. And you also have in the chat box those guidelines. But now we would like to turn into our sacred space. And I was talking about the circle. We want to start the actual circle. And for that, I'm requesting Kumu Sabra, our Hawaiian elder, to start us off with an opening blessing, please.
Aloha mai kako. Can you hear me all right? All right, good. I never know if the technical connections are working here. So I am greeting you from the island of Kauai, the northernmost inhabited island in the Hawaiian chain. To all of you around the world, oh my goodness, it's so wonderful to see you again. Suzanne and Helen, Deanne, Catherine, Muna, Celine, all of you, Yale, aloha. I begin with this chant that speaks of sharing. Aloha, or love, and greetings to each and every one of you, and your families, and your friends, and your community. Blessings. Anawahi ko kako humea ho'oki pala e ai. Aha me na mea hano hano. Ke ho'ohiwa hiwa ia nehe makola e ai. E hui pui ka vai vai. O ko ka ko mau kupuna la e ai. Ia hipu ia ka ko I ka lokahi. Kana lui mi a ka ko mai ka hiki mai la e ai. Me ke aloha no ka ko apau. Me ke aloha no ka ko apau. Greetings and aloha to each and every one of you, and to all of your family and friends. Aloha.
Mahalo, thank you so much, Kumusebra. And Diana, can you take us to the womb? As we said, the first thing that needs to happen is for women to, and all people to connect with the womb around us and the women inside us. So please take us there.
That's where we begin always, and I'd like to start, as we always do, with kindling the light outside that we have inside, inviting us to connect with the flame within us and all around us, connecting our flames to each other, and inviting us to place both of our hands, both of our palms on our heart, and to take one hand and place it on our womb, either our flesh and blood womb if we have one in our body, or our etheric one if our flesh and blood womb was surgically removed. If we do not have a womb in our body, keeping our hands on our hearts and remembering all of us, the womb of our mother, the wombs of our grandmothers, the wombs of our great-grandmothers, the wombs of all the mothers in our bloodline, through eons of time and before time, generations of wombs that have carried life, that have miscarried lives, that have shed tears, that have expanded with joy, including our own womb. And to tune in to what is the prayer of our mother's wombs, of our grandmother's wombs, of our ancestors' wombs. What are they praying for in this moment? Let's listen. Listening to the prayers of the womb. Tfilat HaRechamim, Ragachunia Pentecolors. The wombs of our ancestors are calling us, are praying with us, for us, and on our behalf. Listen. A chain that began before time and extends through our womb, forward to the wombs of our daughters if we have them, the wombs of our grandchildren not yet born, the wombs of those who will live on this Mother Earth generations from now, connecting our ancestors' wombs with our offspring wombs, with the wombs of future generations, in one prayer that is many prayers, that is one prayer. And let's breathe this prayer into all of our cells. Let it flow through our blood. Let it beat in our heart. Let it flower in our womb. And let it connect us. And allowing the presence of the prayers of the womb to be around us like a shawl, encircling our shoulders, connecting us to each other, and beginning to return with our eyes closed back into this moment, allowing our palms to either stay where they are or come down to our sides or our lap as you wish. While with your eyes closed, you are beginning to return to the reality of the room you are inhabiting, feeling your sits bones on the chair, your feet on the ground, remembering colors and shapes and objects around you, and the screen with the circle from around the world in front of you. Wiggling toes and fingers to come more and more into this moment, into our body. And when we feel fully here, fully present and ready, allowing our eyes to gently open. Welcome back.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you for this deep connection, this deep listening. And from there, we want to take it upwards, I guess, or beyond our insight into the prayer, looking at prayer. We wanted to see our prayers meant to be answered as a question to the way often the Western world treats God a bit like a Santa Claus, or a prayer is kind of like what I want. And it felt like maybe there's a different way, different ways to look at it. And so even now when Auntie Sabra, Kung Sabra was taking us in with the blessing, it felt different than just words or sounds. When Diana was taking us inwards, even though we are physically on the same place we were, felt like we are going into another realm. We would like to look at that realm and see what a prayer means there. And so I would like to ask our elders, our wisdom keepers, our women of wisdom to give what comes through you to talk to this circle. And Suzanne, are you wanting to start, or would you like someone else to start?
No, it's okay.
Yes. Are you saying yes?
Well, yeah, I'm saying yes.
Go ahead.
So should I start?
Yep.
Well, I am an artist, and so I teach art at one of the universities. And I've been teaching my students, and I'll pass it on to you if you'd like to try it, is what is the difference between something that's growing as a flower and the stem that feeds the flower itself. So you have to imagine that you've got a flower. You've got a flower sitting in front of you. It's been bloomed, and there's a stem that comes down and goes into the soil. So what I'm dealing with right now and having fun with my students, and it's in the university, and I've asked them to do a blind drawing, which everyone can do, is close your eyes, set your flower in front of you with the blossom and the stem and the pot and whatever, and then close your eyes, and with your paper in front of you and something to draw with, a pen or pencil or whatever, then you close your eyes and you start drawing the flower as you remember it, but you can open your eyes every once in a while and see if it's still a flower and not a rock or a pebble or something. Then you close your eyes and then you do the stem. And the stem is, of course, what feeds the flower. So what you're doing is taking a look inside yourself. What inside of me is an experience, but not the thing itself, if you can follow that. Okay, so we've drawn the flower, and I've had my students do this. They get the flower, the blossom, and then they get the stem down into the pot, and then they open their eyes, and then we discuss it. And it's very interesting how they can't really understand that word, the inner trip. So I'm leaving that one with you too. Is what is the inner trip that gets the flower? Okay, so most of the time we look at the flower and, oh yeah, those are beautiful flowers, but we don't think of, oh yeah, what are the stems for? So that was what they were to find out. What are the stems for? And draw that to attach it to the bud, the blossom. So there was moaning and groaning and carrying on to try to draw this. And then when they were finished, we had a discussion about it. So I ask you, you don't have to answer it on the thing here, but answer this to yourself. If you have a flower growing somewhere and there's a stem, why is the stem the inner trip? So that's what I'll leave with you, because that's what I left with my students, because they drew the stem to the flower, but they kept saying, well, what's the inner trip? What's the inner trip? I said, have you never heard of an inner trip, which every one of us on the screen has an inner trip? What is it? So I'll leave that with you. The flower is blooming. It's bloomed. You've drawn the rest of it as a stem, It's in the pot. And now you look at the blossom, but how often do you look at the stem? How boring, stem. So that's what I leave with you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you
Okay.
so much for that other selfness of a trip that you took us into. And we have very few minutes for our wisdom keepers today to share, but they will share more in the breakout rooms, and you, our audience, will also get to share. We'll get to hear from you. So I'm apologizing for the short time that we have to listen to our wisdom keepers. And with that, Kumusebra, can you please share your thoughts on that?
All right, there. I think I'm connected now, yes? All right. Oh my gosh, Suzanne, I was getting these visuals, of the beautiful flowers that are here in Hawaii. And I have never, and I need to explore. All right, so here you have this beautiful flower, but how does it get that beauty? It comes from the stem, it comes from the soil, it comes from the sun, it comes from the rain, it comes from all these elements. That flower could not bloom and be beautiful without all the elements that nourish it. And such is life. That child cannot bloom without all the elements that nourish it. Each one of us cannot bloom without the elements that nourish us. The love of our families, the love of our community, the food that we prepare, that we eat, that nourish our bodies, the spirit that nourishes our body. And these are some of the things that we will be talking about, no doubt, in our breakout room. I think I've said enough for now. Go on to the next elder.
Thank you. Thank you, Kumusebra, you beautiful flower. And Celine, can we hear from you? Your thoughts, your wisdom?
Yeah, sure. It is my pleasure and a big honor to be here this afternoon with all of you. I want to share very quickly an experience about indigenous women in this part of the world, which is we have been being resilient against the conquer. And for more than 500 years, almost 600 years now, we are keeping the hope, we are keeping the strength. We women, we are keeping exactly the energy. And more than all of that, the faith. We do believe in our genius. We do believe in our wisdom. We do believe in ourselves. That's why we survive it. Under the most difficult and complex circumstances, I will rescue this experience of us. Just keep the happiness of being alive, having the opportunity to take care of your children, of your elders, and especially transmitting from generation to next generation. What do you have in your heart? What do you have in your mind? What you have learned recently? Because take this lesson, the Andean people, we have been disrespected, almost erased from the surface of the globe. But the women, we keep the DNA alive, because when we saw our ancestors, we feel a deepest respect, and we want for the future generations, we do have the same. We want them to keep our memories. We want them to keep our plants, our pride, our knowledge, and basically our way to pray to the stars, to the Father Sun, to the Mother Moon. This is what I have in my heart for all of you. Thank you very much. for this moment. Tupananchis Kama.
Tupananchis Kama. Thank you so much, Celine. Thank you for reminding us of the need to be free at each moment. Even if we feel free, there are still things that are binding us, just like we sometimes can feel how we need to let go a bit more, to relax a bit more with our muscles. So may freedom and this breath of freedom be shared by all. And Mona, can we hear from you?
Hi, good evening. Blessings for everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to participate here on this blessed circle. And I, as usual, I have thoughts and then it changes. When Diana was talking about when we were going through the meditation, basically with the wombs of the mothers and grandmothers, and it was so clear for me the calling of the ancestors of remembrance, which is also what Celine just spoke about. There was a calling of remembrance, and I often wonder how it is done to be able to remember our ancestors and yet proceed in life and develop in the way that life presents itself. Because pretty often in a heritage like mine, I come from Palestinian people, so there's carried within our memories a very deep sadness and victim consciousness, and I feel it's time to free it. So how do I remember the suffering of my grandmothers and yet be willing to free myself in a way that respects everyone and respects the future generation? I think this is my main calling in this lifetime. And regarding of prayer, I just seems to me like, since this is the subject of this evening, I only want to add that for me, when I do pray, I feel it is so important to both give and receive. As we pray, make our offering to Spirit as well, and not only be on the begging side, because it has to be. It has to be this way of giving and receiving. Otherwise, it's not honoring the resources of earth and spirit and everyone. And this is my offering for tonight. I'll just do the rest of it for the circle. Thank you.
Thank you, Shukran. It reminds me of a story that Kuyach told me. My man is a traditional messenger of his people, the Unangan, or Aleut as they're called by the Western world, the people of Alaska here in the Bering Sea area. And he once was invited to South America, and he went with the medicine man to the desert where it hadn't rained for 9 years. And the medicine man went into a prayer, and he was dancing and singing for 6 hours, and Kuyach was holding space. And then after 6 or 7 hours, the rain came. And he was dancing in the rain, and Kuyach was asking him, "You prayed for the rain?" Because everything was in his indigenous language, so Kuyach didn't know what he was saying, but he felt what he was saying. And the man said, "Yes." And Kuyach said, "So you were asking for rain?" And the man said, "No, I was giving gratitude for the rain." And Kuyach realized that he was in the process of giving gratitude, and only when the gratitude was complete and whole and abundant, then the rain could come. So that is what I want to also put here in the circle. And Catherine, can we hear from you, maybe?
Yes, kia ora. Look, I so resonated with what you just said, Yael, because for Māori, we have many kinds of prayer, but the ones that are most potent, they're not actually the ones that ask for anything. The word, one of our words for prayer is karakia. And of course, you look to the the wisdom in the word itself to really understand the deep meaning of the concept that the word is expressing. So karakia is made up of different little words and parts. Ka at the very start is an activator. Boom, there you go, right there. Ka, an activator. Kara, that references a couple of things. One word we have for like to act powerfully, to be proactive, to be like an instigator, we say karawhiua, karawhiua. It's like an invitation to, you know, do something, like just do it, you know, go out and do it, give it all you've got. That's karawhiua. And kara also references, speaking of us in a circle of women, karanga. Now, karanga is a practice that is generally associated with the women on our ancestral meeting spaces. And it's when the women call to anyone coming onto that space and into our ancestral meeting house. It's the women's job, mostly the women. Some Māori people say have men do parts of this practice as well, but generally speaking, it's mostly women who do this practice. They call people into the space and into the ancestral meeting house. That's karanga. So there's that. Also, obviously, you've got the word ra in there, enlightenment. As I've spoken many times before in these circles, ra for us is the sun, which is a metaphor or an analogy, whatever you like to call it, a symbol of enlightenment, light, enlightenment. You also have in there ara, in the word karakia, you've got that word, you can hear it, ara. Ara is the way. It's like a path. You lay the path out, it's the way. Okay? You also have, there's so much in there, this karakia, you can hear this word aki. And aki means to urge or encourage or incite something. You know, aki, remember when you double a word in the Māori language, you put it beside itself, it amplifies and transcends the original word. So if you think aki is to encourage, aki is like you're an agitator. So you are agitating, but this in the context of prayer, in the context of prayer, aki is you're literally like being a sort of provoking, but you're agitating the universe to bring forward to you. You're calling forward to you what you are seeking to bring and manifest into the world. And finally, there's this word ia, karakia. You can hear ia at the end there. Ia is an intensifier. Come on. So karakia, there you go. That's kind of, you get an understanding for Māori of what karakia is. It is not going begging cap in hand to some creator outside of you. You are co-creating with the universe. You're calling it in. Yael talked about appreciation. That definitely. You just say it is. You're making a declaration to the world, to the universe. This is how it is. And then you seal it by saying it will be. It is. And that's how we that's one kind of prayer. Another kind of prayer, I'll just finish with this, is engaging my body. So I like to use my senses. Music, we talked before this call about music. I bring music into my karakia. I like dancing. So I physically engage my body with music, and I engage karakia through my whole body. So everything's coherent. My brain organ, my mind, my heart organ, my emotions, my puku, or my stomach organ, my intuition is all coherent in dancing. That's just something I love to do for karakia. So there's many ways to karakia, and yeah, I invite people to have fun, play around with it. You know, don't take it so seriously all the time. Sometimes, sure, you've got some situations you really got to karakia on, but other times you just want to create good stuff, just because. So kia ora, thanks Yael, thanks to everyone, and amazed, so much to talk about here. It's beautiful. Kia ora.
Thank you, kia ora. Wow, so much is coming in, but I'm just gonna leave it for the circles. I'm sure a lot is coming up for a lot of people. And I do want to hear from our other wisdom keepers. Helen, may I hear from you? May we hear?
Thank you. And just so wonderful to hear from Catherine talking about that joy, that life, that spirit, that force that can come through prayer. And it's like active and it's like, whoa, just takes you. And you know what? It reminded me as you were speaking, when I was a kid, I had this yearning for the spirit, and I just didn't know how to get close to it. I was raised in, you know, your typical Canadian United Church, but it meant nothing to me. We just went, and it seemed so boring. And I just couldn't, you know, as a teenager, the only thing I could find that spoke to that yearning was music. But it was like choral music, you know, for a teenager. It was a strange thing, but I remember feeling like close to something so much bigger than me. And so I went to Europe, as you know, just before I hit 20. And all I did was go to cathedrals and listen to that music that took me to that infinity. And art. It was art, architecture, and music. And it was only much later I even came to prayer, because I realized that I was just like knocking my head against my innate need to control everything, and that it never worked the way I hoped it would. And so it was only much later in my life that I thought, okay, that quietness that manifested in me was trying to access something deep inside me that was the light, and that was that inner peace. And so that's how, you know, Yael, when you're talking about what Larry was learning in the desert, I so believe that, because is your prayer answered? It's only through that stem Suzanne was talking about, going down into that stem, into the root, that I have felt that peace. So thank you so much.
Thank you so, so much. And I do wanna, when Catherine was talking, one of the words you mentioned was Ia, and you also mentioned something that Ia often says, which is a co-creator with creation, which is also something Suzanne was kind of describing just now. And so Ia was supposed to be with us, but she has another event that hasn't finished yet. She might be here later. I just want to bring her in because I feel she's here. And Diana, please give us what's coming through you. I can feel it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone that spoke so far, because a lot of it is informing what I am feeling that's coming through me. I'll start with the word prayer. In Hebrew, tefillah, in Romanian, rugăciune. When you spoke, Suzanne, and then Sabra, about the flower and the stem and the elements, I thought of a seed as a prayer for bloom. But it's not I want. It's not like Yael was saying, Santa Claus is how we are looking at it in the West often. I want a bloom. It's I am connected. If a seed is a prayer for bloom, then it's connecting with the soil and with the sun and with the rain and with the air. And through that connection, the bloom comes. And through that connection with the rain came. It wasn't I want rain. It wasn't I'm asking for rain. It was I'm connecting. And I'm thinking of our connection with spirit, comparing it to a relationship with a friend. So if there is a friend that you encounter once in every decade, that's one sort of a relationship. If there is a friend that you talk with every day, that's a completely different connection. And I'm thinking of prayer as a connection, a daily connection with spirit, with the divine. If I'm not connecting to it every day, then I don't have a relationship. Once in a blue moon, when I need something, I'm going to go ask for it. That's not connection. But prayer for me is the act of connecting in the moment. That's what's coming through me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Diana. And as we were talking here about sending a prayer out or inviting in, like Catherine was saying, the women invite things in. If you look at our feminine parts, they are inwards, they are inviting in. And again, with my men and the elders here in Alaska, the prayer, as Mona was saying, there's the giving and receiving. And it's this one movement. When you're breathing, you're not thinking, am I now giving or receiving? What am I doing with my air? You know, it's the same kind of movement. And so what Queer is saying, what the elders here say, is that in the prayer, we need both the masculine and the feminine. We need the masculine to go out, and we need the feminine to receive. And if we just do it with one element, we're creating an imbalance. And so that kind of movement, that kind of dance, that kind of freedom, that kind of nourishment that our wisdom keepers touch on in so many different beautiful ways is, I'm inviting us to feel that as we go into our breakout rooms, which is now. And please be mindful of time and attention. Make sure everyone gets a chance to speak at least once. You don't have to speak if you don't feel that you want to. You can also sing or share in other ways. And please hold that same kind of deep listening, for this is a co-creation. Our different facilitators, our wisdom keepers in each room will read the guidelines again for all of us to sit at the table together and enjoy the potluck. So see you after. Thank you. Toda raba. Ananchiskama. Mahalo. Michelle, take us into breakout